Since chapter 1152 of One Piece, right after the events of the Domi Reversi up until now with chapter 1161, the entire One Piece community has exploded with hype, excitement, delight, satisfaction, confusion, disbelief, shock, and all of the other adjectives. Even the One Piece agenda was back in full force. And I'm looking at you, JD Legend. Even the non-fans became intrigued. Even the fans that were doubting Oda after the Wano arc began to believe again. We got all of these boss characters: Loki, Ja Rule, Harold, Rocks, Whitebeard, Shaki, Roger, Rayleigh, and many more legends in this backstory. I mean, for real, all of these characters feel like their own separate protagonists of their own stories. This is how huge this flashback is for the entirety of the One Piece community. Welcome to Haki Review. This is the first part of a trilogy of me dissecting and discussing this entire flashback of ELBAF. I would greatly appreciate it if you'd hit the subscribe button and like the video to help a brother out. Now, in the first part of this trilogy, we're going of course over the beginning of this flashback. So Luffy wanted to free Loki so that he could help ELBAF, but Harudin of course refused because of their kind of hatred towards each other. It was not until Skapurgaban, the main man himself, told Harudin to release Loki. So pretty much Harudin had held a grudge against his own brother for 15 long years. Yikes! That's really bad. Harudin's stocks were already down, and now they went down even more. Damn. Major sell-off. Apparently, some strange haki was felt on the day of Harold's murder by Scopper. Him and Shax investigated the case, but did not get the whole story? Well, excuse me? That must have been some bullshit ass investigation. How could you not know something was fishy right away? Anyhow, the original flashback begins 14 years ago. And why I say original flashback? Because this is a flashback within a flashback within a flashback within a flashback within a flashback. You get it now, right? Now, why did Harold specifically summon both Ja Rule and Loki? Even Loki does not understand why. He says that it's very hard to understand a government dog. Could it be that Harold was anticipating his own death? Therefore, he summoned the two persons that he could trust the most. And with this, Loki tells the reader that he knows that Harold betrayed Rocks, so the government got the best of him. Could that be the entire reason why Loki set out to sea? To follow in Rox's footsteps? We know that because of this, Loki kind of resented his father. Somewhat. Because of Harold's betrayal towards his best friend, we know that Loki had some resentment for his father. But it is also the case that Loki did not fully hate his father, but he also respected him and maybe even loved him. We of course know that from where Loki spoke to Harudin about his dad, and he was saying that, yo, this is my dad too. And also, you can't just simply forget that your father was the most loving person your entire filthy childhood. I mean, for real, this guy's mother hated him from the second he was born. She tossed him away. She wanted to kill her own baby just because he looked different. Now that's some different kinds of racism. I mean, is that even racism? Maybe that is racism, but that is truly something filthy. And let's not focus on Loki's mother a lot because I really hate that character. And you guys should just watch my earlier videos about that specific chapter. I show great disgust in what I say about that freaking bitch. Okay, so let's move on from that. So Loki had a terrible childhood, but Harold was the one who was holding the baby, who was smiling at its face. And that's gotta mean something. Because even though Loki still had the feeling that something was missing from his heart, he still somehow, somewhere deep down inside of him, knew that his father would be there for him, would somewhat care for him. And of course, that is all covered up by this evil-natured kid who's trying to destroy the world, trying to beat up everybody in his face. He even tried to beat up himself himself, even tried to off himself because this world wasn't making him feel belonged somewhere. He didn't belong anywhere, not even at his own home. So going back to the events of Harald's murder, Loki is about to meet with his dad for the first time in what seems like a while, only to see his body pierced through by his own damn soldier. Everybody and their mama would think that this is like, there's something fishy with this, like there's something out of the ordinary. From what we know now, King Harald is ridiculously strong. He clashed with rocks on equal terms multiple times, showing great feats in Conqueror's haki, maybe even advanced. There's just no way the father soldiers could hurt him. Now you could make the argument that the father soldiers themselves was Domi reversied and kind of ganged up on him. You could also make the argument that he was maybe sick and that's why he called his most trusted soldier in Jarul and his son. But then again, why didn't he invite Haradin as well? But that same day, Shanks wanted to speak with him. But about what, bro? They had met earlier in the Holy Land, and I would assume that's when Shanks went back there to, I don't know, undergo some training maybe, or just see his family, see what they look like. I don't know. Maybe he was summoned there by the mark on his arm that we get to see in the early parts of this flashback. But Harald was there, probably making some negotiations with the world government. This was of course after the events of the God Valley incident, because we know Shanks was a kid back then. Why did Shanks want to speak with King Harald? Could it be because of the legendary devil fruit that Rox was talking about? You know, the one that had to be eaten by a giant to achieve its fullest potential? Yeah, that devil fruit. We still have no idea what it is though. But that day of Harald's death, there was someone that closed the doors on the guards and slaughtered them so that nobody would tell the tale afterwards. Oh yeah, and that same person probably put the sword inside Jarul's head. And Loki, well, we still don't know what he was doing at that time. What was his role on that day? And why specifically did he get imprisoned? And I'm not talking about no allegation, no random people speculating that he was the one to kill his own father. No, I want to know the real answer. Who was the person that was trying to obtain that legendary devil fruit? We saw him glancing at the treasure chest. Well guys, I think the beginning of this flashback is extremely overlooked. I believe that the truth about King Harald's death lies in the very first chapter of this entire backstory. We just don't know it yet. The next chapter we get to see the life of Harald. How it all started. Like I said, a flashback within a flashback. We saw his fascist way of life. Him believing that he should be the utmost respected person in the entire world. Because he's the biggest. Because he thinks he's the strongest. He was incredibly strong. But still, you don't have to be like that, man. And these humans, they're so darn tiny. They're like fodder cannon. But like I said, he believed that he should be respected because he was strong. And he did not understand nor take the humans seriously. They're just puny creatures that do not deserve to live. The strong will always rule the weak. That was Harald's ideology. That was his way of life before he met Ida. Undoubtedly one of the greatest flashback characters in the entire series. Ida slapped this guy's ass back to reality, telling him to immediately apologize to the village he ravaged. She scolds him, saying that Harald was only born bigger than everybody else. It's not like he had fought with blood, sweat and tears for that impressive feat. He just happened to be born like that. She literally put a mirror in front of him and told him, hey, this is who you are, an arrogant piece of shit that hasn't worked hard for something in his entire life. After that day, Harald became more conscious of how he acted and how he treated people. He started seeing people for their individuality rather than their race. I mean, he was basically just another racist, and Ida just left his way back to reality. The destruction of anything in this world is a waste, she taught him. And that is by far the most integral piece of Harald's character that transformed him into the loving king of ELBAF that we know today. Naturally, Harald fell in love with Ida and they had their first son, Haradin. He then devoted his life to make peace and harmony with every nation that he would come across. He banished himself from his own country to atone from the horrible stuff that he had done in his past. Now he had to go overseas, traveling from island to island, trying to make peace, trying to make allies, and, of course, trade deals. And some giant years later, he went of course back to Ida to get married. Unfortunately, not everyone was accepted of Harald's newly formed ideology. The people above him decided that he could not marry Ida. She was not a full-fledged giant of ELBAF, nor did she have ancient giant blood. And think about it, guys. These four silhouetted figures that I will show on the screen, they decided who the king of ELBAF should marry. Now if that doesn't ring any fishy bells in your mind, I don't know what will. First question, who the hell are these people? Perhaps these giants are from the Atlas world, the heaven world of ELBAF, the place on top of the Adam tree. We know next to nothing about them, and I'm not really sure that giants know themselves about them. At least not a whole lot. Or maybe they have to stay secretive about what it is going on in the heaven world. They say that the ancient giants are extinct. Could this be just another lie? Since these figures live, if we go with the headcanon that these figures in silhouette live in the heaven world, does their bloodline tie in with those from Skypiea? I mean, they're basically in the sky, above the red line even. You might think Oda forgot about that. You might think that Oda decided that these random four characters are gonna decide Harald's fate, basically. But I have a slight feeling, not slight, a major feeling that these characters will be extremely important in the future. They actually decided that Harald was going to marry Estrid, a filthy piece of shit that nobody, not one of us, wants to talk about. Although I do know why King Harald wanted to make a baby with her, you know what I'm saying? But nah, this is just like the perfect example of don't freaking judge a book by its cover, please. She looks gorgeous, alright? But inside her is just filth and darkness and black. And I really want to say that I truly feel for Loki. I know I didn't even want to say anything about this, but him climbing up the tree after having been tossed over by his own mother had me in tears, basically. If this is not a sad backstory for a character, I don't know what is. And if you're not Loki for Straw Hat, I kinda understand you. It would be kinda weird to have this enormous giant on the ship. Maybe we'd make the Sunny bigger, but I don't know. It would be a little bit weird. But still, he's gotta be an important character going into the future, right? I hope so at least. So the question is, what do you guys think about all my points? Let me know if I'm just yapping, talking shit, or if I actually made some sense to you. This has been Haki Review, and this has been part 1 of my trilogy of this flashback. See you guys in the next break week. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.